Cormac Mcarthy was born on July 20th, 1933, in Rhode Island, one of 6 children. He was originally named Charles, but later changed his name to Cormac. His family moved to Knoxville in 1937, where he later attended the University of Tennessee in 1951, majoring in liberal arts, and then he dropped out to serve in the Air Force from 1953 to 1956. He then began writing, publishing A Drowning Insolent that year and A Wake for Susan the next year. From these stories, he won the Ingram Merrill Award. These stories established the dark writing style that we know him for. They also stoked the fires for a long professional writing career. In 1961, he met a fellow student, Lee Hollerman. They got married later that year, and he had his first child in 1962, named Cullen McCarthy. Unfortunately, they lived in extreme poverty throughout their marriage and divorced soon after having their first child. He then published his first novel, The Orchard Keeper, in 1965. The same year, he was evicted from his apartment, so he traveled to Ireland on a scholarship. On the ship to Ireland, he met Anne Delisle, who was a worker there. In 1966, they got married, and they then moved to the United States and purchased a dairy barn in 1969. They renovated it themselves while living in complete and utter poverty. While living there, he wrote his next book, Child of God, in 1973. In 1976, he separated from Anne Delisle and moved to El Paso, Texas. McCarthy, with the help of Richard Pierce, traveled to the South in 1975 to develop his first film, The Gardener's Son. It was nominated for 2 Emmy Awards in 1977. In 1979, he published his semi-autobiography, which he had written for over 20 years based on his life in Knoxville on the Tennessee River. In 1981, he won the MacArthur Fellowship, worth $236,000. This granted him the ability to explore the Southwest, where he researched for his next novel, Blood Meridian. During this time, he lived in a stone cottage behind an El Paso shopping center in 1985, which he described as barely habitable. Up until 1991, McCarthy's novels had sold no more than 5,000 hardcover copies, and he was labeled as the best unknown novelist in America. McCarthy finally received widespread recognition following the publication of All the Pretty Horses in 1992. It was a New York Times bestseller, selling 190,000 copies within 6 months. It won the National Book Award and the National Book Critics Circle Award. Then he released The Crossing in 1994. In 1997, Cormac married his third wife, Jennifer Winkley. They had a child together in 1998 named John McCarthy, and he published Cities of the Plain in 1998. Then he divorced his wife. McCarthy then wrote No Country for Old Men, publishing it in 2005. He wrote it as a screenplay originally and then adapted it into a novel. It was then adapted into a 2007 film of the same name, which won 4 Academy Awards and a few more. Finally, I'll leave you with a short and informative video about Cormac McCarthy's The Road. Do you like Cormac McCarthy?
Yeah, he's okay.
His early work was a little too Western for my taste. But when he published The Road in 2006, I think he really came into his own and impressed me both commercially and artistically. In the early 2000s, McCarthy was staying in a motel with his son, and he imagined the city outside in 100 years, fires up on the hill, and everything being laid to waste. Years later, during his trip to Ireland, he would expand the idea into his 10th novel, The Road. It follows a lone father and his young son navigating a post-apocalyptic America hunted by cannibals. It won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction.
Hey, Patrick.
Yes, Alan.
What's with the newspaper everywhere? You got a dog or something? A little chow?
No, Alan.
Is that a garbage bag?
Yes, it is. In 2007, Oprah Winfrey chose The Road as their book club pick. And it was later adapted into a movie of the same name in 2009. Hey, Paul!